So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Silence, stillness, slash tuning, uninterrupted tunement with the perception of the divine. Abstraction of that which is worldly is for uninterrupted connection with the divine. So once again, good morning everyone. Reminding all that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your questions to the number that appears on the comments. So how is time being used? More or less in relation to other people. You tend to shape the view, or you think you do. You think you shape the view that others have of yourself by that which you can demonstrate from what is visible. Well, in the quest for truth is a little bit different, because what you can show about your seriousness is the time you are applying into it, the level of sincerity you have, of honesty, of transparency. And that is 24/7. So like I was explaining in the beginning, previously to the silence, abstract from everything else, there's this idea, oh, I let go of all investments and I remain there, and then what? I forget about myself also. Maybe it's not like falling into a pit and disappearing through it. It's not that. It is about removing everything which distracts me from the continuous contemplation, from the continuous communion with the divine. Because all other interests, they are like ropes that are pulling me. The ropes are binded by my interest. Interest wasn't there, but then it came. So it's not just about letting go. There's a purpose for letting go. It's to hold on to. And without that sacredness in your heart, that communion with the divine, awakening, enlightenment, God realization, self-realization is just too far away, because it comes into the sphere of personal interest, another interest, something that I add on to the pile of interests. So whatever you're doing, it's not your friends that are going to judge you. And if they say, oh, he's a seeker of truth, then you're a seeker of truth. And if they say you're not, then you're not. It doesn't work like that. It has nothing to do with anyone. And it is simple mathematics. The time that you are spending reveals your real thirst, your real interest. And if you don't have time for anything else, just focusing in your process of freedom, then you're on the right track. But if you're still dividing, it's too far. Too far. I will answer your question now. And I will answer your question like in a way to continue the previous satsang, which was about high standards. And this is more or less a clarification. Well, you may not like the answer, but it will clarify for sure. And it's not about this question, it's about what came previously and also about this question. Okay. Good day again, Shriman. I have a question for you and you can give the answer to everyone. I guess it will be very appreciated. So far, I read several spiritual books and everywhere I read that we have to be sex-free and vegetarians in order to receive the divine grace of awakening. Is it true? Well, in the previous question, you told me that you couldn't practice more than 30 minutes of meditation because you got impatient and God is too far and it's very difficult. So what about the rest of the 23 and a half hours of the day? Is there impatience also with the other activities, or is it just with meditation? Continuing the subject of high standards, let me tell you something. These questions that you have made about sex-free and vegetarian, they also reflect the same thing, the distance, the enormous distance. And half an hour with this kind of positioning, I wouldn't even answer this. I wouldn't even pay attention to this. I'm answering you for you to understand this. For me to listen to something like that, I give no attention, no interest. It's so far, but so far, but so far. There's no point. So, why it is important for you to listen to this? Because if deep down there is a serious quest for truth, you have to realize how far you are, how the standards are low, and how will you get some feedback or something? It won't happen. So either you are deluding yourself or you are deluding yourself. So either you are deluding yourself in those 23 and a half hours and you're investing in things that are just a distraction from what's really important, or you're deluding yourself thinking that the quest for truth is the most important. Either way. And there's even something else, probably. The quest for truth is not the most important, you're not deluding yourself with that, but you aspire for it as you aspire for other things, which for sure are more important because you use 23 and a half hours towards them, more or less. And in that case, in this last case, nothing will happen. Nothing will change. The divine will continue to seem very, very distant. And I would look at this, I wouldn't even answer it. So, why am I saying this? For you to understand the standards and how you're presenting yourself. Because if by any chance that is really important for you, well, there's a lot of things to change. A lot of things. But as it is like this, for me it's just look and forget about it. And these questions, sex-free and vegetarian, this reflects, well, where you're stuck, apparently, what are the obstacles. They reflect a lot of things, because a seeker of truth, it's very difficult to ask these questions. And it's not about setting the rules. Oh, I understand the rules, I put them in place, and voila. These are means that you adopt to work other things. Vegetarianism, for example, to make your body more subtle, your energy more subtle, more conducive. It's about compassion, purity. It's about empathy, generosity. It's about understanding life that surrounds you and respect it. Because you may think that you know sacredness, but if you don't know what life is, what empathy is, then you have nothing. But it's not about others or things, it's not about that, it's about having it or not having it. Because in the end, when you know what life is, there's almost nothing that you can eat, for example, because everything has life, has feelings, everything, even a lettuce. So eventually, is to have this inside of you. It's not about a ritual. The ritual leads to realization, to certain realizations. It helps. And sex-free, it's about conserving one's energy in that subtle state so that it can rise. But this has needs, specific needs. When the process is not alive, then you take these things as a way of life to help you, more or less. But when the process is alive, everything has its place, its moment, and it comes by itself. And another important aspect, it's about not mingling your energy with others, because it's very important to clean your energy, cleaning it in the sense of not being, how do you say this, mixed with others' energy, to make your own more clear, more perceptive. So it has a lot of implications. Also, it reduces drastically these connections you have with others, because when you have sexual intercourse, there is a connection, an astral connection which is built. And whatever is from the other side comes to you, and whatever is from this side goes to the other. And it keeps on flowing. So when your energy starts to rise, it will go down again because it goes to the other one. Whatever is good, whatever is bad is changed, exchanged. And these connections, they last quite a while. And now we've gone through Christmas, and many just look like Christmas trees with all those connections. Like those decorations on the Christmas tree, full of connections, and then energy doesn't rise. How can it? And also those interconnections make your energy more dense. So these are strategies, but the main thing is the love, the missing God, missing the divine, missing home, homesick, aspiring for that final reunion. That's what it is. Because the science of it, vegetarianism, being sex-free, all these things, this is science. But without the rest, without the longing, that deep desire that doesn't let you breathe or live peacefully, without attaining it, this is the life of it. And that science without this life is just nothing, pointless. For example, a person that you love a lot, you want to be with, the longer possible, the better. You want to be so close, that you want to be glued, stuck to the other person. More the love is, the more connected you want to be. And then you say that, well, 30 minutes is more than enough, cannot bear much more than this. So where is the love? What love is there? Is it just greed? So to understand these things is very important for those who are really serious. Others, I have no interest. But whatever is there, you have to observe for coherence sake. Because if it's not coherent, you're investing, and nothing. Because many things are inbuilt by years and years of repetition. And then you have to see, oh, but I want this very much. But these things are in the way, and you'll have to take them one by one. Because getting some results with spiritual practice, it's not that difficult. It is difficult for the majority. But then, for those who can apply themselves, having results, being able to stand firm, to feel the presence of the grace of the divine, the presence of the spiritual fire that keeps you focused, even your body becomes firm and you feel like you're elevating. To be in that, it's not that difficult. It takes focus, a lot of focus, yes, but it's achievable. But then it's when the real challenges starts, because staying there, that is very difficult. So if you want it or if you don't want it, this is what usually happens. Your spiritual practice gets sucked into your life, becomes part of your life, becomes superficial, becomes nothing. And it doesn't matter if it is 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. This is the tendency. Because without the constant aspiration, and this is difficult, because it is painful to entertain this constant aspiration, this constant, how do you say this? Desire to be with. Maybe not the best expression. Like when you're in love with someone and you want to be close, but you're not being able to. You're being rejected, or you're trying and you're waiting. This creates a lot of suffering. It is more or less the same. So the natural mechanisms tend to cool down all of this, cool down all of this. So that you can live with it, but then it becomes dead. And majority of the teachings, the spiritual teachings, the people that are giving them, more or less are in line with this. You have to calm down, takes time, blah, blah, blah. But when this teaching is given with strength, with power, with meaning, with someone with the thirst, it is different. You have to maintain that thirst, that intense longing, and keep it steady, steady. Doesn't matter how long it takes. But I don't reduce the flame, I keep it high. But if you lose the thirst, you lose everything. And the most natural thing to happen is, whatever the sincerity you have, everything gets sucked into nothing, into superficial, an area in your life. That when it is time to meditate or to have your studies or whatever, or to see your satsangs or whatever, depending on the superficiality of the thing, oh, you get pretty intense and pretty focused on that, and then you just forget about it, more or less, and go to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. So to keep that flame alive, despite conditions, is very important. And the thirst, keep it intense, keeping the longing intense. Because it is something that will take your attention out of the rest, more and more, until nothing is left. So, for you, of the 30 minutes, when you achieve 23 hours and 30 minutes dedicated into your spiritual quest, and 30 minutes the rest, then you're close. So whatever time you're dedicating to your liberation is a time that it's not being wasted. So all the time that you are applying to your liberation is the only time that it's not being wasted. The rest is all about wasting time. And eventually, you won't be taken seriously. And there's this mentality that it's a cultural mentality already, that in some sense you have to be saved. So the Guru is there to save you. God is there to save you. Even ETs are there to save you. They will come with a spaceship and save everyone. So this is the mentality of somehow a fragile creature that needs to be saved, taken care of, protected. But then the same creature says, oh, but I'm God. I'm the whole. And it acts like I need to be saved. But that's the thing, you don't need to be saved. You need to reflect at all levels your grandiosity. Despite all appearances of fragility. And if you don't take your quest for truth seriously, you will not be taken seriously also. So whatever you see, you envision, more or less it tends to go that direction. And the seeker of truth sees things as the quest for liberation is the only thing that matters. And whatever else is there, it will have to adapt to that. Because you can't compromise. You cannot give assurance to anything, to anyone. A seeker of truth must be always ready to follow the direction that guidance is pointing. He has no free will. He has no plans for his life. He's always waiting for the next direction. And that's his only goal, is liberation. Nothing else, has nothing else to build. And whatever is there surrounding him will have to adapt. Some things just stay behind. Many things fall behind. So it doesn't matter when and where and in which circumstances you wake up for the quest for truth. Whatever is there, many things, if not all things, will fall behind in one way or another. Okay. Everyone. So there's another question. Let's wait. To adapt the manifestation, nothing to do. It is happen. Well, I didn't quite understand your question. Can you improve that? But as you improve your question, I will already comment on this nothing to do. Nothing to do is high level practice for high level seekers. These days it's just a sentence that you don't even know what that means. This talks about, for example, dispassion, and is spoken by those who are more filled with passion for life. So this nothing to do is high level. And of course, these days, this is very simple for everyone. Oh, there's nothing to do. Spiritually speaking, of course. In worldly terms, oh, there's a lot to do. And it gets better because when there's nothing to do spiritually, you have 24 hours that you can devote to the rest and just wait. It will happen, of course. But there's nothing to happen. You're already that. You are that. You just need to, you don't even need, because you are. So where is the need if the existence, if the reality is previous? I'm just mocking with your faces, that's all. But this is a thought which is naive. Nothing to do is high standard. And to reach this level, oh, many tears have to be dropped in the way. Theoretically, it's very simple, very simple. So you are experiencing this nothing to do, and you're sending the questions. I understand. So probably there's some levels to that nothing to do that you still have to experience more. Tem mais aqui coisa aí? Okay, so let's wait for the rest. Well, there's also someone else that doesn't have anything to do. Unemployed, for example. Sorry, couldn't help it. Okay. Because I plan the actions, but nothing comes as I thought. Should I occupy only with the quest? Well, of course, but this is different. This nothing to do has nothing to do with this things don't happen according to your planning. Because horizontally, let's call it like this, life has its direction, its own direction, unpredictable direction, but it will follow it. So there's nothing to do regarding to that. But people do it anyway because they don't see this direction, this thing with its own life. That's not what they experience. They are afflicted by desires, and they are using that those conditions as a stage to get those desires. And they are getting more or less the same that you're getting. And some things seem to turn out right, and their efforts are compensated, and others they're not, but this is independent of your desires. These things would come and go anyway. So all your time is available for the only thing that it's worth, and that is liberation. And many times, it's a good thing when things don't go the way you expected it. It's a very good thing. So a seeker of truth doesn't expect anything. That is the best. The best. Because even when you're intensifying your practices, it's tricky. But okay. Whatever your desires are, their range, the possibility of them to manifest is bigger. And this is a risk. This is very complicated because you're desiring it, it is there, so the probability of you to get attached to it, it's enormous, and get distracted. But in the beginning, there's not even to worry about this. But yes, things are as they are. So the nothing to do, it's at a different level, not because things don't go according to your planning. It's something, okay, this is like inside of a cave, and this nothing to do is out in the space, very distant from this. But yes, all the time is available for your spiritual quest. The question is, are you using it? But the normal is to get attached to your desires and use what you have in hand. Like watching a movie and trying to make the hero or the things that are happening to go in a certain way, to have a specific end desire, but the movie will just go according to what is there. And all the time you were there just forcing and trying to change things. You could have been using it for something else. Okay. You look at the big stories about seekers of truth, and then you look at your life, and that will be a big clarification. Big clarification. The majority of you are just working in a space of security. First, you take care of all your material needs, all your emotional needs, or your intellectual needs, and then, and only then. So it's more or less like a hobby. In the level of interests and in the way that you're using time, the majority of time is used for security purposes, then for pleasure purposes, and then, and only then, for spiritual purposes. Observe it, and then you see what is there to be taken seriously. Because you suffer without it. Of course, Probably, maybe, maybe not. A 2-year-old, a 3-year-old also suffers because, oh, I want that toy that is in the other's hand. Bah, it's a disaster. It's the end of the world. 2 seconds later, it is focusing on something else. And you give it that toy, that joy will last for a couple minutes and it wants something else. Should that be taken also that seriously? Those who accompany that, those who see these episodes, well, they understand that it's not the end of the world and it soon will change. So what is the importance of your suffering in the middle of that context? Soon you'll be distracted with something else. So high standards. You go to work into a big company and you want to grow rapidly in that. Well, you have to show them that you're for real, that you're interested, dedicated, and you'll give more and more time to it. And those who do this are taken serious and are competent, of course, because it's not only about giving the time. It's also quality time. And those who are competent and give this, they grow. It's the same. It's how much they want it that brings them to perfect themselves into the direction that their heart is calling. It's the same. I see this a lot of times. More than it should, actually. Seekers wanting it a lot, they want it and they sacrifice their lives and all of that into that direction, but then the day is just absent-minded. They don't use every moment to work on what needs to be worked, to let go of what needs to be let go, to embrace what needs to be embraced. And time just slips through their fingers. And don't think you're better than the others. You're not. And this thinking that I'm better than the others just keeps you blind to your distractions. Okay. Well, something else here? Let's see. Okay, so yes, I want to sell my house for security, but it's always a flaw. I see the mechanism thanks to your satsang. Well, if you see it, it's because you want to see it. That's the truth in it. And you'll be surprised how much more you can see when you really want to see. And this is the thing, because human nature has its own programming. And to become a seeker of truth, you have to transcend that programming. It's part of it. Because if you move around with the same expectations, with the same modus operandi, it doesn't take you far. Okay. Something else coming? Let's see. So what is what is the impediment of you having a story as these sages had previously? Just see, test. What would it be like to have a life like theirs? And if you are serious, you will see all attachments and fears rising. That is the obstacles, and that is the path also. The path is through the obstacles, not around them, through the obstacles. Simple. But it's probably going to be a long question. Maybe I'll answer it next satsang. Maybe it's finished. Ah. Okay, I will answer your question now. How can I totally surrender myself to Sri Krishna? Nowadays, my believing mind is fluctuating. I want to determine, I want to be determined on my belief. Please guide. Well, you have to make this the central part of your life. You have to remove all distractions. It is fluctuating where to. Because if it's not holding on to Krishna all the time, using your words, then it's going where? And whatever is going, you will see your beliefs, your dependencies, your fragilities, your weaknesses. And that by keeping them and forcing your attention to be on Krishna, you will have to let go all the rest. And there are many ways to do this. The thirst gives rise to creativity. Creativity does the rest. But you see, focus is never lost. It just changes where it is going. And where it is going, it's about interests. And as you evaluate all of them, you have the opportunity to cut them by the root. So moving away from your objects of desire, of attachment, and all of that, it is good, but it has to go deeper than this, because it's about the importance that you are giving to it. And when this is said, immediately seekers jump to the conclusion, so there's nothing to drop, I just have to cut the importance towards them. Well, that is very nice conclusion, but it's naive. And it is about protection. It's about maintaining security and try to work things only at the superficial level, at the mental level. And it really doesn't work, doesn't give any fruits. It's turning your back to those sources of attachment, of dependency and all of that, and cutting the importance associated with it. It is both. or else it's just mind games with no real fruits. Because if you know what you want, really, you will see clearly what stands in the way. In this case, if your mind is fluctuating, where it is fluctuating, you could just hold on to Krishna. But that's difficult. But you can try to hold on more and more, and at the same time, observe where the mind is fluctuating to. And cut these sources where it fluctuates. It's like cutting a dependency. You will have to abide away from it long enough so that importance is dropped. Because if you just abstract yourself, just physically, you increase the distance, you're not seeing it, so you're solving it. No, because your mind wants to travel towards it again. So this is where it starts. So you use the outer conditions to create this affliction, this need to go there more intensely, and you will abstract from it. You'll create distance towards this need that arises. And you will work on the importance you are giving to this until it disappears. Okay. Okay. So next satsang will be, not sure. Eh? Okay, so it will be next Saturday. This Wednesday there won't be satsang. Until then, well, you can start by using your time, the beginning of a supposed new year, and put things in the right place. Make it real. Okay, watch.